Welcome back. Episode 26.
What's up, shitbags? Yeah, welcome back. We don't even have any milestones this time, so we can't fill that bullshit with anything. But apparently we always talk about it. So it's. But thank you guys so much for coming back on and listening, watching. It's awesome, surreal. Thank you so much. Thanks to Taylor's Tins, to Jobtown, Crew First. Wouldn't be here without you guys. But yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome. We get to keep plucking away. We are setting up for guests for next year. We are starting to kind of nail down that. Again, we'll have the last episode of the year in December. Will be just the two of us shitbags. And we'll kind of talk about our plans for next year. So we still got a couple openings. So if you know people or you want to be on, reach out to us, Facebook Messenger, whatever. If you got our personal, or you can message the podcast. I think we got a couple more openings that we're still looking to fill. So for you guys, right? We want you to send in questions and who you want to hear from. So we can only do so much, but
That's right. But
awesome.
We'll make it good.
Oh yeah. Looking forward to it. Another year. It's going to be great. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. We're really excited to have our guest on. He's been a great mentor for us and a great friend, especially being local. But I'll let him talk a little bit about himself and bring him in to talk some more. Nick Peppard.
What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Just beautiful Monday.
Yeah.
Sunshine and can't complain. Drinking coffee and getting my fall on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Even though it's going to be like 82 today.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm back on shift for like the 88 day. And it's going to be a great day. But...
I know. Yeah, just enough fall to tease us. It was like,
hey,
it's a little bit of fall. Just kidding. Here's summer again.
It was job shirt weather. We all had the job shirts on. And then now it's going to be
best weather.
Back to shorts.
Swamp ass weather.
But yeah, Nick, why don't you introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself before we get going?
Sure. I'm Nick Peppard. Like long walks on the beach. Like to be held Titanic style on the front of a boat. No, I'm just kidding. No, all seriousness. 19 years on the job as of March. So yeah, coming up on 19 years.
Cool.
I started my fire service journey in a combination department in Northwest Florida. Went to fire school at 18 years old, got out, got a job, and just kind of hit the ground running. And early in my career, I was pretty adamant about kind of bigger, better, moving on and experiencing stuff. And so I did about, I guess it was just under 3 years at the city of Mary Esther, which they don't even have a fire department anymore. They were taken over by a bigger department, a combination department. And then I went over to the next county over, Holly Navarre. I was there as a new department. They were transitioning from kind of part-time volunteer to career. And so I went there as a driver. And that was end of 2007, early 2008. And started there it was kind of the Wild West, man. I went from like kind of suburban, more structured to, it was 2 guys in one engine, 2 guys in another engine across town, and the chief. That was our staffing for 50 square miles. And it was, new career department. So it was like a little trial and error, kind of figure out how to do stuff with limited staffing.
Absolutely.
But I cut my teeth in that environment. And a couple years later, I made lieutenant way earlier than I probably should have. Man, I was like 5 years on the job, made lieutenant, and learned a lot the hard way.
Yeah.
I got in the fire TMT school, went through driver program and all that stuff. And, enjoying life, kind of started working on my degree, my associates and fire officer 1 and all that, instructor stuff. I mean, the stuff you're supposed to have to promote. I started going down that road and, I got there in Navarre and, made lieutenant. And, I don't know, I was kind of itching, man. Cause like when I started in Mary Esther, I got hired as a firefighter, but within 6 months, they're like, hey, you got to start driving out of class. And then one of the captains got hurt. So I ended up driving all the time. So started my driving experience very early, even though I was a firefighter, so bouncing back and forth. And then when I got hired in Navarre, it was like, hey, you're a firefighter, but you're also the driver. So I kind of had to fill both roles, never really get to ride tailboard like I wanted to. So I started to get the itch. I was like, man, I want to be like tailboard. I want to ride tailboard and I want to ride in a bigger system and just get that experience. And so an opportunity came up a couple hours away in Tallahassee. state capitol, older department, a little more size. It was like 16 houses, 300 guys, about
Oh yeah.
1,000 calls a year. Pretty good fire load. And so I went there and kind of chasing that backseat dream, right, man? Like get in there. I had a blast, learned a lot. A lot of good people. The politics are heavy in that department, pretty bad. But
Yeah.
those guys are going through the ringer. Anybody that follows them on social media, I still got guys there I know that, and they're going through it right now. But anyway, I was at that point in my career was like kind of made the leap from EMT. I'd worked part-time EMS and full-time fire, and went to medic school. Ended up on the hazmat team as a tox medic, and stationed in the hazmat station there in Tallahassee. Pretty good experience. Ended up working part-time, Wakulla County as a medic in a rural system, which was, dude, talk about as a new medic. Like that is like the most Wild West experience I've ever had. Like it was it was almost free for all, dude. You could do just about anything you wanted to do. And the doc's like, yeah, whatever. Because there wasn't even a hospital in the county. The whole county didn't have a hospital.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So long transports, like rural medicine out in the sticks. So yeah, got a lot of good experience there with the hazmat team as a medic, and then in the city running fires, and had my daughter was born there. So yeah, just kind of started down that road, and then I had an opportunity to go someplace kind of in my mind like the professional dream. I was going to go to went down to Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, Tampa. Big metro system, man. Like that system, 46 houses, I think right now, 46, 47 houses, 1,100 uniform guys, 130 plus thousand calls a year. Stupid busy, stupid fire load. Really, really good experience as a fireman. Went down there again. At this point in my life, I'm chasing bigger, better. Well, I got hired there, and I found it like a week later. My wife's pregnant with our second kid.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so we moved down there to this massive area, no family, no connections. And I got a toddler, and my son was born down there. And at the time, we didn't make jack for pay. So then I ended up like working part-time for AMR, which I don't recommend. But I was working overtime a lot, and working AMR and just barely getting by. Living the dream as a fireman. Like I was having an absolute freaking blast. Love my crew. I was stationed in West Tampa, Station 20. Had a blast. But the family life was kind of suffering. So for the first time in my career, I kind of got faced with that conundrum of like, I do what I want to do, or I can do what's best for my family. And so like we were back visiting my parents at the end of end of 2016, Thanksgiving time frame. They were still living in Northwest Florida. Most of our friends and family were up there. My brother was on the job up there, and it was like, all right, went up there to visit. Is like, it'd be really nice to have family, especially with 2 kids, a newborn, and the wife was just a lot happier that whole week we were up there. And I was like, man. And I had a buddy that worked for Navarre where I previously worked. He was a battalion chief. He's like, dude, we're hiring lateral drivers. He's like, you could basically come in just about where you left off as a driver, granted I was a lieutenant for a couple of years before I left, but I was like, man, it's tempting. Let me think about it. I was like, I'm not going to give you any promises. So we went back and we talked about it. I was like, man, I kind of got in that situation where I was like, as a fireman, I'm having a blast, but I felt like if I stayed in Tampa, like it was probably marriage was not doing good. And just the family life sucked. And it was really starting to take its toll on my wife and on us. And so I made the leap. I was like, you know what? I am going to subject myself to what's best for the family. And kind of, that was like, I think for me, like a big growing up moment for me, like where I realized like, hey, I got to take care of my family first, because like we say that stuff, but as a young fireman, it was all the training I could get, all the conferences I could go to, like as much as I could do. Like there was no balance, man. Like it was all fire, and then the family got the leftovers. And just being honest, I mean, like that's transparency. And so moved back to Northwest Florida, and came in as a driver, and they let me count my time from previous time there. Within like 2 years, I made lieutenant again, and then like a little over a year later, made captain. It was, it was a good experience. That's kind of when I really started to expand my horizons with training outside of my area. Started getting involved with some regional conferences and things like that, teaching outside of my bubble. That's really when I started getting active as an instructor, and kind of what led to the North Florida Fire Expo, what led to starting the podcast with Sean Duffy. Met a lot of cool people, had a lot of cool experiences along the way. But the problem with Northwest Florida is, I always tell people, it's like Florida cost of living with Alabama pay. And if anybody's familiar with the Southeast is notoriously bad for pay, especially like, Mississippi, Alabama, some of your Georgia departments. And so I ended up working, full-time fire, pretty much full-time EMS. I was part-time, but working full-time hours most of the time. I was teaching at the college as an adjunct fire instructor, and then teaching for American Heart and doing like all this other stuff on the side with like conferences and stuff.
Yeah.
And I straight up, and that was just to make ends meet. I was working 26, 27 days a week, a month, and just seeing my kids in passing. And it got out of balance real quick. I got burned out pretty after about 3 years of that. I started really hitting a wall.
Yeah.
And it wasn't by like we're just getting rich and I'm like having all this extra money for house projects. It was just like breaking even, just because the pay was so low. And so I kind of hit the wall, and I started getting crabby at home, started getting crabby at work, and I could tell like it's taking a toll, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally. As much as I love the job, when you're just immersed in it 24/7 and there's no unplugging, it starts to really wear you down. And so here I am, made some mistakes along the way, obviously, learned a lot of stuff, that I think like just about balance. That was probably the big teaching moment for me in life, was when I realized how out of balance things were. And so I was teaching with Sean Duffy. We were up in upstate New York. It was like fall time, and Duffy was down in Florida that whole time. Like when I met Duffy, he lived in Florida. He was in Central Florida. Like we met, we were running a lot of conferences together, started doing some teaching, and we were up in New York, and man, it was like fall time, like beautiful, weather. And like my wife and I are both originally from upstate New York. We grew up north, like seasons and weather change and everything. It's like, man, it'd be nice to have this again. And he's like, well, actually, my wife and I we're moving to Michigan. And I was like, what? And so I got the wheels turning. I blame Sean Duffy for this whole thing. The reason why I'm in Wisconsin is it's all Duffy's fault. But yeah, so I kind of started talking to the wife. I was like, man, like, I don't know, maybe, midlife crisis, call it what you want. And kind of started just like looking around, seeing what's out there. And we originally looked at like, New York, because we got some family up there. But man, I was like, the politics, the taxes, like just the way the state is run. I was like, not a lot of fire jobs up there to begin with. And the ones that were up there, pretty much you like had to live in the city like for 6 months before you could apply. And I was like, so that's not really an option. Yeah. So we started like kind of looking at some other places in the Northeast and the Midwest. I knew a couple of dudes through training stuff, the Facebook and conferences and stuff. I knew Nick Ledeen and JD and I had kind of informally met through social media. And so like kind of just like bouncing, some questions out there like, hey, what do you know about? I saw Oshkosh was hired on the National Testing Network. I was like, I don't know what this is all about, but it was like, it's almost too good to be true. It's like, so I'm looking at the pay, I'm looking at the benefits. I'm like, lateral opportunity, the area like really good for like raising kids, started asking questions, looking at cost of living. And I was like, man, I kind of caught my eye. I don't know why. I just kind of happened to see it one day. And I didn't know anybody in Oshkosh. I didn't know anybody really in the valley. And I just kind of started like doing some Google search stuff. And so I put it in just kind of on a whim. I was like, I don't know anybody. They're not going to hire me. There's no way they're going to hire me.
Yeah.
And so I put it in, and lo and behold, like I go through the whole process. They're like, hey, yeah, we want to hire you. And I was like, oh, okay. So it got really quick. So that happened, and that was like early 2022. And came up here to finish my like psych eval and physical with the thought process that, we might start you at the end of the month. I got up here and they're like, hey, can you start on Monday? This is like, I got there on a Sunday night, had my psych eval, my physical Monday, Tuesday. And then Tuesday afternoon, they're like, hey, can you start Monday? Now my family's still in Florida. And I'm like, okay. So I'm scrambling, find a place to live. Like, it all lined up, like all the stars aligned, like
Yeah.
found a place to live, was able to get everything up here, the bare necessities that I needed. And yeah, so rock and rolled and went through that. And so, yeah, been there since. Like I said, I've been very fortunate to have a lot of opportunities with the podcast, with the Make Do podcast, and then, teaching at a few different conferences around the country. I love to train. That's my passion. I love being a fireman, and training is like right there with it, man. I love sharing and watching the light bulb moments, those aha moments.
Yeah.
So, got involved, helping start the Old Fashioned Fools.
Yeah.
Rick kind of hit me up a few years ago, and he's like, "Hey, I'm really would like to get a chapter going up in the valley," and so I've been kind of involved with that. And but yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, that's my fire service career, man. From start to where I'm at now. My family's been super supportive. My wife's put up with a lot of crap over the years, just my job moves and frustrations with how things are sometimes. Got beautiful family, man. My wife and I have been married for 16 years. We got 2 kids, one on the way here in about 7 weeks.
Awesome.
So yeah, life
Awesome.
is wide open, but it's good.
Yeah,
It's good.
Absolutely.
It's good.
Awesome. Well, that's cool. Yeah, and now you're up here, right, with all the rest of us, and it's been a great time. So yeah, it's cool that I actually didn't know what made you choose Wisconsin. Most people that come back to Wisconsin, it's usually family. There's not a lot of people that kind of, the seasons that's a big draw, but that's cool that you just kind of found it one day, and that's what brought you up here for us. But yeah, it's been cool getting to know you, and cool having you around. So
thanks, man. Yeah, no, I'm learning the customs. The Packers, you gotta have your fish fries on Friday, man. Old fashions. I get it. I've been immersed.
Yeah.
I'm a transplant, but
are you doing the nose or the oops? Like, is that going in yet? Or
every once in a while, one of those will slip out.
You got it. Nice. Awesome. Well, perfect. You kind of took care of the first one about getting into the fire service. So we talked a little bit about it, but where did you discover your passion for training?
I really, like I said, I mean, even getting in the fire service was kind of like a light bulb moment for me. Like, I didn't have any family on the job, but I think the passion for training for me really is 2012. I'd been on the job for like 7 years, and I was comfortable. At this time I was working in Tallahassee. I thought I was a pretty good fireman. I never shied away from training, but it wasn't like the priority. It was kind of like one of those things that, oh yeah, I train, I do this, I do that, or whatever. And all the stuff you're supposed to do, and but I really, for me, like the light bulb moment, like they kind of pushed me towards training more. We had a fire in it was Memorial Day 2012, and I was detailed to the truck company. It's like one of the first times I was detailed to the truck. And I'm an engine guy. I'll tell you, like, I mean, I like truck work, but my love and my passion is engine stuff. So, but I got detailed to the truck company, and it was shift change, and just came on, and we get dispatched for a structure fire in our first due. And so throwing everything on the truck, I literally just walked in the door. So I'm going through, throwing everything on real quick. And so the engine pulls up, and it's like a split level house. Fire started in the kitchen, and it's rolling pretty good. It's thick, hot smoke, good fire. And so they get off, start stretching a line, and my captain was like, "Hey, they're going right. We're going to go left for search." Now, keep in mind, in 2012, I hadn't been exposed to anything outside of like my recruit schools and the fire academy and that kind of stuff. We're still crawling around on all fours and, swinging tools and doing that kind of search. And so like grab the boot kind of left-handed search, But at this point, I'd been around long enough to know that like that doesn't work all that well. So we kind of like veered off from that a little bit, we kind of peel off each other here and there. To search, it wasn't as bad as you would see in a fire academy, but still doing that, all fours crawling around, that kind of thing. And we get in there, the tick the battery wasn't charged. Go figure. And you know, it was one of those old bowler like monstrosities, like freaking huge. You could dog with that thing if you hit him with it. And it's massive. You know, it fails. So it's pitch black. We're searching, and we got told, oh, there might be somebody inside. You know how many times we got told that before? And there's nobody inside, right? So in my mind, I'm like, this is just another routine fire. Like, we're gonna do a search, you know, crawl around for a while. It's gonna be all clear. We're gonna come out and do some overhaul, and that'll be the end of it. So we're going through there and searching and you know, crawling. This house is pretty big. It's pretty deep. So we're like probably halfway through the building. We get to this kind of back room, and there's a couch. And so I feel the couch, and I'm like, hey, Cap, there's a couch here. I peel off. I'm going to search the couch. He says, hey, I'm going to search to the right here real quick inside the door. And so I'm searching the couch, and I hear him say, hey, I got a victim. And I'm like I stopped. I was like, yeah, right. What? And he's like, no, I got a victim. Give me a hand. I was like, oh, crap. So like he gets on the radio. Now the engine's doing their thing. They're on the other side of the house. Like we're on the left, you know, kind of at this point we would be in the Bravo Charlie-ish corner of this split level house. And so we're back there. We find this guy. Can't see a thing. There's zero ventilation at this point. And zero viz. Can't see nothing. This dude is naked as a jaybird. Slimy, 6'4", like 240, 250. A big dude. And in my mind, you know, in the burn tower, you always got these stiff mannequins, right? You know, you got your webbing, you throw your webbing around them and everything's hunky-dory. You drag them out. It's no big deal. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm just going to put my webbing around this dude, okay? And I'm going to snatch him and we're going to pull him right out, you know, the back of this house. Well, Cab's like, hey, I need to find a way out of here, you know, because we're deep enough in the building now where we don't want to drag all the way back to the front door like that. We're a pretty good ways in. We're like, this doesn't make sense. We're probably closer to the back at this point, which we were. But the room we were in didn't have any doors. It did have a window, which we didn't know at the time. We just couldn't find it because of the smoke conditions. So I tried to sit this guy up and package this guy like I've done with the, you know, mannequin in the burn building. And he's limp and he keeps falling over and he keeps slipping. And I'm trying to get my webbing out of my pocket. And I'm going to do this little, you know, hitch around his torso and do all this stuff. And I'm going to, you know, have this nice grab handles. And I'm going to pick him up and I'm going to stand up and go with him. Right. Well, yeah. Okay. So my heart rate's like 160 plus, you know, this guy's kicking my butt. I found out real quick the dexterity goes out the window when, you know, you're trying to find webbing deep in your pocket, you know, and trying to fumble around with it and you can't feel it. I dropped it like 3 times and I couldn't find it. Finally, I dropped it. Like I thought I had it. I went to pull and it fell, like came apart and I lost it. So I'm like, great. There goes the webbing idea. And my box light at this point, I had always kept my box light over the top of all my like pack and all that stuff. And the box light keeps swinging. It's like hitting the dude in the head. And so I'm getting aggravated. The box light to the point where I like slung it so hard. Like I took it and like threw it behind me to get it behind my pack. I threw it so hard that I split the casing in half on my SCBA cylinder. So, you know, that's all screwed up. So then I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to pick this guy up. Well, I go to pick this guy up and he's slimy and he's slippery and he's sliding through my arms and I'm having a hard time. I finally get his wrist, right? I get him locked and I start doing like you do on like CPAT, you know, you grab the mannequin, you stand up and go. Well, you can't see nothing. So I'm falling on everything. I'm falling, I'm tripping. Captain comes back, says, hey, there's an exit, but it's all the way out the back of this other room. We got to go up these stairs. There's like 6 stairs to step up to this next level. And then I'll like probably a 25 to 30 foot drag out the back of this house. I was like, okay, cool. I got this. Well, I'm fumbling, trying to get this dude up the stairs. Finally get him up the stairs. I don't know how many times I fell down trying to stand up with this guy. And now keep in mind, like we've been searching for a while. My air's low. My low air alarm's going off. And we still got like 30 feet to go. You know, and so we're dragging this guy. And I'm like, I know I'm about to run out of air. Like this is not good. Like, so I get like probably 8 feet from the door. And at this point, the captain had got the door open and I could see the light like low. I could see the light at the door. I'm like, I just got to get this guy out. I'm not, you know, we're at that point. Like, I'm not leaving this guy in here, you know? Yeah. And needless to say, we got like 8 feet from the door. Mask sucks to the face. Freaking just sucked, bone dry, no air. So I had to pull my regulator out. Now I'm breathing smoke. and I'm coughing, and we just get that last little bit of energy like kicks in, that like second dose of adrenaline's like, because I'm spent, like I'm exhausted. That last little bit of flurry, like if we don't get this guy out, like we're gonna be part of the problem. Like he's gonna die, we're gonna be in the hospital. Like we gotta go. So make the push, get this guy out, hand him off. We radioed, another engine company had showed up on scene. They were there to receive the patient. We couldn't do nothing. We're done. We're spent. We're so. And I just remember kneeling on the ground. My regulator is already out, and I'm kneeling on the ground. And my heart rate's so high. I've taken a little bit, not a ton of smoke, but a couple gulps of smoke where I'm trying to hold my breath. And I just remember like trying to undo my helmet, right? So I could take my helmet off in my mask. I finally fumbled around after a minute or two, got the helmet unloosened, but I couldn't get the hood and the Nomex back and the mask off because my fingers were like literally no dexterity. My heart raced through the roof. Like I couldn't breathe. I'm spent. And so someone had to like take my mask off. I'm just like, I just stood, me and my captain both were like, just sit there. We just looked at each other. I was like, holy cow. And there was like that moment where we just trying to collect ourselves for like a solid 5 minutes. They'd already taken the patient off, like RSI'd this dude, intubated him, flew him, the whole 9 yards, right? And finally I get myself together and we go like walk out to rehab. And they're like, hey, you guys take it easy. You guys are done. And so like we're in rehab and guys are coming up and patting us on the back like, hey, good job, good job, good job. And the whole time I was like, I don't feel like we did a good job. Like this was nothing like I anticipated. This was not like the mannequins that I drag out of the burn building, right? This is the first time I drug a real person ever. It's 7 years on the job. The first time I encountered a real person that I had to drag with real bones that moved like real people that were slimy. And it was nothing like, the thought of doing this fancy webbing harness and doing all that stuff in high stress environment. Frankly, it kicked my ass. And I realized how close we were to becoming part of the problem. And man, like I just had so many thoughts going through my head. So we went back to the station, went through the rest of the shift. This is the beginning of the shift. So I had a long, we ran some more calls. And for like 2 weeks, man, it just ate at me. I was like, the guy ended up living, by the way, in spite of like all the difficulties. Cool. He made a full recovery. We went to his birthday party the next year. It was really super cool.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Very, so all the pomp and circumstance. Oh, you guys, here's Medal of Valor, all this. And I was like, I just did my job. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't feel like we did anything. That warranted medals and crap like that, but they made a big deal out of it because the guy lived and we got to, it was a whole PR thing, like, hey, they're at the birthday party, the whole crew that saved him. It was cool. Like it was cool to see him alive talking. And that was very rewarding. But I realized that my training had not prepared me for that moment. Like I feel like he lived in spite of us, not because of us. I felt like I had been, so it kind of, it created this spark in me to seek out more information. And so I started like digging hard into like Firehouse Magazine, fire engineering. I started like, looking at options for training. And so I noticed, and I'd been to like, I'd seen a couple like local seminars that popped up, like 1 day little things. And that was cool. But someone told me about the Metro Atlanta Firefighters Conference in Atlanta, MAFC. And this is like
Mm-hmm.
early on when MAFC first started, they were a lot smaller. Now they're like 900,000 students a year or whatever. But this is like maybe like 300 guys going to this conferences. Maybe they're, I don't know, a couple years in. They weren't real big.
Yeah.
But I got invited to go up there, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So went up there, and immediately I was like, holy cow. I realized how much I didn't know. It was like I had this epiphany of like, there's so much more out there than what I had been exposed to locally. And what was amazing was like there's 300 other dudes that are like motivated, that want to learn, that want to train. Nobody's bitching about training. Nobody's complaining that they have to, be out there for 8 hours putting in work. Everybody's having a good time and learning. And man, I fell in love. I was like, I need this. This is like a void that I've had that I didn't even know I had. And so I started going to every training event that I could afford to go to, conference, training. And I've been going to MAFC, man, like for over 10 years now straight. I mean, like every year, that's like the voyage, man. Like, cause that's where it started for me. That's where my passion for training started. Now at the time, I never anticipated being being the trainer. I just fell in love with training because I knew that we needed to do more than what we were doing, right, and learn more. And so I started got really hungry. As far as learning to teach and learning, realizing that I want to help teach, that was fast forwarded to like 2017, end of 2017, 2018, early 2018. I had a mentor of mine, a captain who's since retired from the Okaloosa Island Fire Department, named Shane Stewart. Really just a solid guy. Had a really big impact early on in my career. The type of fireman that I wanted to be. He was always the guy when I thought of like a fire officer. It's like, that's the guy I wanted to be. And so he knew that I had got my instructor stuff, and I started dabbling, locally, helping out with like stuff as far as not being lead on anything, but just kind of helping out. And he was like, hey, I got to have, I got a medical procedure I have to have done. I got a apparatus class that I'm slated to teach the next county over. He's like, I can't teach it. Can you fill in? And I was like, are you sure? Like, he's like, dude, I know you know your stuff. Like, you're into training. You're passionate about the job. Like, just here's the outline. I'll give you all the information. You just got to teach it. Just deliver it. Yeah. And so I went and I did that, and I was nervous. I was real nervous. I had never been like the guy standing up and teaching. And when I got done with the class, I had like 3 or 4 guys came up and say, man, like, you did really good. Like, you really, you can tell you care about what you're teaching. You can tell that you care about the material, the fire service. He's like, good job. And man, like, it just like hit me. I was like, I really enjoyed that experience. I enjoyed sharing, not that I have all the answers, but I will share information and help others get better. And I thought about it, I was like, man, that's what I've been doing with training, right? I've been just informally like trying to get guys to train to get better.
Yeah.
And so that was what sparked the instructor stuff. So for me, like I said, it's kind of those two experiences, the call that didn't go like I thought it should have gone. The wake up call for me was what led to my passion and love for training as a fireman. And then the opportunity of a mentor kind of believing in me and kind of pushing me out of the nest and saying, hey, here's your shot, go take it, was kind of what led to me getting involved more with actually instructing. So kind of the twofold yin and the yang, roughly 5 or 6 years apart.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Part of this podcast is what we love is the rabbit holes and going down. So we're going to skip some of the regular questions that we got here, and we're going to hit our favorite question and then get some more for you and make sure that you get time for your question that you got to come up with our next guest. But we love the direction that this is going. So this question you get no explanation for. It became our favorite question. We've talked about it before. We've kept it in, ask everybody. And all it is why are we here?
Why are we here? Simply, I mean, you hear the for them, and I agree. We're here for them. But to expound on that, at the end of the day, man, like when you think about what it means to be like a public servant, this, everybody thinks that the sexy stuff with for them, right? It's jumping through windows in a house fire. It's, it's dropping the tube upside down in a ditch in a car accident, in the pouring rain. It's all the cool stuff, right? It's hanging off the tower. Everybody wants the sexy stuff. But the reality of it is like, that's not most of the job. Most of the job is it's the small, what a lot of people would think is kind of trivial moments in your career when nobody's watching, when it's the routine calls. And what I've learned over my career is if your mindset is only towards the cool stuff, like the stuff that the reason why we got in the job, we want to do all this fun stuff. Like if that's the only thing that you're living for, and when you get those dry spells when you're not doing this stuff, man, it could wear you down, right? It could really be a kind of a shock to your system when you realize that most of what you do is not the fun stuff. And so what I learned to appreciate over time is that, like when we say we're there for them, is understand, like, whether it's the little stuff. It's the guy that has the heart attack and we finish mowing his grass, right? It's the little old lady who fell, who's worried about her cat, that you leave a little water or food out for them, or lock the door up behind them, or make sure their stove's off. It's, coming into work when you don't feel like it, training. It's working out, day in and day out when no one else is looking. It's taking the 10 minutes to read that article in fire engineering. It's the 30, 40-minute ride to work, listening to a podcast, being dialed, just so you're dialed in and your mind is in the right place. And it's coming into the firehouse, and, it's taking care of the person next to you, right? It's the little things of, that cup of coffee sometimes in the morning with the guys, those little nuances, right? That where you can kind of learn about somebody's life, learn about their family. It's the little stuff that adds up. And that's what makes, like, to be a consummate professional. It's not that, it's, you look at guys like, for example, this just popped in my head because I watched football yesterday at work. Tom Brady's an announcer now, right?
Mhm.
And there was a commercial about, I don't know if you guys seen this commercial, but there's like a commercial yesterday on TV about, and it's been going around for a couple of days, about Tom Brady, where he's sitting there doubting whether he should be get out of the game altogether. Why is he an announcer? All that kind of stuff. And like all these different pieces of his past, his memory, when he was playing in New England and in the Bucs and all this stuff, and in Michigan, and they're all like, basically they want you to give up. You should just, they throw in the towel. You could just be fat and lazy on a beach somewhere. And then the kid version of him comes in and basically encourages him to, like, keep working, right? There's still work to be done. And, anybody who's watched the documentary that he did on, the man in the arena understands, like, his mindset, right? Is this constant grind of trying to be a little bit better every day. And not that there's not ups and downs, there's not distractions, there's, that's not real. Real life is not this mountaintop experience all the time. There's a lot of highs and lows, but it's making the conscious decision every day to show up. Just show up. Because by showing up every day, you're going to be so much farther along than most people that they ride these highs and lows, and when they're low, they give up, they step away, and then they quit for a while and they come back. Right? I mean, you look at fitness as an example. It's a lot easier just if you just do a little bit every day, you'll be farther along than someone who does a lot and then quits, a lot and then quits, and up and down, right? Consistency is key. And I like what my buddy Pablo has to say. He's, the whole, motivation will get you to the start line, but discipline gets you to the finish line. That's what it means to be a professional, man, is putting in reps, putting in work consistently. Not that you don't have days where you fall off the wagon, but it's not letting one day become two days become three.
Yeah.
It's the consistency over time to just leave it a little bit better and fix what you can fix, right? And that's the other thing too, is like I learned the hard way that you have to impact what you can impact, right? Is your little bubble, your circle of influence, and understand like there's things that you may never change, right? And that's okay. It just, you show up anyway. You do a good job anyway, because you're doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it because somebody's dependent on you. The people that are calling for help, whether it's that lift assist, whether it's that, that overdose, whether it's that car wreck, technical rescue, fire alarms. I mean, it's being a pro day in and day out for them. And then, like I said, them, the citizen, right? They're counting on us. We took an oath to protect them. Them, the brothers and sisters next to us. Listen, it's a lot. It's easy when guys want, if you get on a crew that doesn't like to train, that doesn't like to work out, that kind of just wants to sit around, it's really easy to lose motivation, right? And it's standing tall even when you're getting darts thrown at you for doing so, right? And then and understanding that you're the one that has to, be accountable to yourself, right? And I've always wanted to be the guy that could be counted on when things go sideways to make a difference, right? And you hope that when you're put in that moment that you're the one kind of rallying the troops and getting people moving in the right direction, right? And that's part of it. And then the other part of it is, this is the part that we don't talk about, is our families. Several episodes back on Make Do, we talked with Jeremy Mathis about balance. And part of being ready mentally for the job means we have to be right at home too. And when things aren't right at home, it does impact the job eventually. and vice versa. When things aren't right at the job, it's inseparable. Like we try to separate these components and say, well, they're two separate things, but they impact each other. And so like what I realized over time too is finding that time to carve out for family so that I am right. So that I have those healthy outlets to make sure that I'm decompressing and kind of resting myself and being ready to come back into work and do it again. Because that's just as important. Your family, your friends, that social aspect of your life is important too. And I would argue that, when it's all said and done, we punch the clock, and we're done for the last time at the fire department. Who's going to be left, right? Family and friends. The department's going to replace you the minute you're gone.
Yeah.
And it's just a hard reality that a lot of people, I'm irreplaceable. Even the Vinny Dunns and the Anthony Avillos and the guys like that, they'll tell you, like the minute they walked out, they already had someone ready to step in. And so that's real life. So, being there for them, that's why we're here. But really it comes down to service. It comes down to, just doing the right thing day in and day out. When you stumble, you fall, you get back up and you keep trying, because that really is what separates in my opinion, that's what separates true professionals and people that are just there for a t-shirt and a paycheck.
Absolutely. No, that's cool. Extremely well put. Very, very eye-opening too. I like that. We talked about just before getting on the family first or finding that balance. Like there always be that. And yeah, I think we've heard that a lot more recently too on a couple of these, the replaceable. Like, yeah, you want to be the best of your job, but it doesn't matter. You could be the best of your job. You're still replaceable. And,
I'll say that. Yeah. And just on a side note, I don't care. You could be the most badass fireman on your job, have all the credentials, all the certs, all the accolades, all the medals, but you suck as, a husband, a father, a friend. If you're bombing it in your personal life, you're going to be really lonely when you get to the end, man. And quite frankly, you're missing the boat, because to me, like I said, they should complement one another, not compete, and that's where a lot of guys struggle is they think, oh, I'm a great fireman. Well, that's great. But look around you, your household's burning to the ground. Your wife's 1 foot out the door, right? Your kids don't know who you are. Like, your parents haven't seen you in 6 months or talked to you, all those things. Right? There's certainly something to be said for guys that, I've been very fortunate to have mentors. Jeremy Sanders is a guy I look up to. Mike Galliano. There's some guys that really I look to and I'm like, man, I want to be like that, because those guys seem to understand the balance. They seem to understand the importance of leaving the job better, but also not shirking your duties and responsibilities in your personal life.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the most important goal. And those guys are awesome examples. They're just great people. And you can see it like you say, you can tell when you meet people like that. Like it's not just, you want to learn from some of the great firemen, but we talked about, we were down in Mapsy for the first time with the tactical resiliency. Like you could tell the connection that you get, the stuff you take away, and just like conversing and interacting with those guys or with any of the guys that have that balance, you take away so much more. Like it's such a rewarding experience and such a cool thing to see that it can be done, and that's what you should be striving for. All right. I think we only got time for one of the last questions before we leave it up to you to answer the previous one and come up with one. And I know maybe it's personal bias, but I think it's one of the easiest and simplest answers for people starting out to get some hands-on training. And whenever I especially know that certain people are members, and obviously you and I together on the e-board, I like to let the fools shine through and give some shout outs for him. So question for you is, why is fools important to you?
To me, like, fools represent the best of what the fire service is supposed to represent. In that it doesn't get, matter if you're career, volunteer, paid on call, big department, small department, doesn't matter. If you're big in the union or not in the union or whatever, like all that stuff, all the politics of the fire service, doesn't really matter, right? Are you a firefighter that wants to be better? And we have everybody from chiefs on down that are members. And when you're at a Fools meeting, there's no rank. There's no,
Mhm.
oh, I'm a chief of so and so. No, you're a Fools member, just like the guy sitting next to you that might be a 2-week member, or on some fire department that just started, right? I mean, you don't know, but the thing is, it's a common goal. The common goal is, to get better at the job, to build camaraderie, right, and to celebrate the good things in the fire service, and to take care of our own. Those are the 3 things the Fools represent: training, brotherhood, and that social camaraderie that is so important to building those networks and relationships that kind of enrich our fire service experience. So that's what I tell people. Like, to me, Fools is an outlet, right? It's an outlet for all of us to sharpen each other and to make each other better, learn from one another. I love it because the way it's set up, I mean, there really is no I'm in charge or anything like that. I mean, we have people on the board obviously to keep things moving, but even on the board, like, we all have roles and responsibilities. But it's not an ego contest of like, oh, I'm in charge, I'm the president, or I'm this or that. I mean, it's just show up. Let's do some stuff for the brothers and sisters and make it better and leave it better than when we found it. And that's why I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like I said, I like to make sure we get the shout out here because I think it's one of the simplest answers. I mean, I believe at this point it is every state has a chapter. So some may have less than others. Maybe you'd have to drive a little more, but getting started out, if you want to find, try your hand at these trainings, seeing what conferences are like Fools is going to be your cheapest and your most available way to do that. Because I mean, like Nick said, you got career big city chiefs all the way to 2-week guy volunteer. Like, you're a firefighter, you're there, you want to be better. That's all the requirements. And it's just such a great and easy way to get better and do some training. So I like to make sure we get shout outs whenever I know our guest is a member, which happens a lot. And that should say something too, right? A lot of our guests are Fools members. So it's a great opportunity. So yeah, join your local Fools chapter. There we go. But yeah, exactly. There you go. So yeah, that'll conclude the time that we got for our regular questions. So now we've got our last 2, which is our question from our last guest, Andy Plofkin. And this is a great one for you. So he gave a little explanation, so we'll expand on it if you want. But otherwise, his question, kind of simply like our other one: what is next for you?
What is next? Oh man, we got a lot going on.
Yeah. You said it could be, what's next here, what's next in 10 years, what's next when you retire, what's your plan, what do you wake up for and go for every day, what's the end goal?
Sure. Well, tomorrow I'm flying to St. Louis to teach. That's in the immediate future, and we got a Fools training coming up on the 14th, so I'm looking forward to that. But going forward, really for me, man, like, I feel like this journey is kind of like, you just never know, like, ups and downs, there's twists and turns. I just try to be a little bit better every day. That's what I hope. I hope that when I get to the end of the road that I can say that I contributed, that I made it better than I came in at, wherever I'm at. I've always tried to fill that role and be the best I can be, whatever opportunities I'm given. But, honestly, man, like, for me, like, what I've been striving for the last couple of years is finding that equilibrium in the family, and obviously with a new baby on the way here in a few weeks. I want my kids to know that their dad made a difference, but more importantly, I want to know that, I want them to look back and say, man, dad invested in us. Like, I want to be known just as much as a good husband and a good father as I am as a good fireman. So I've been putting a lot of time and effort into that, on the home front. Trying to build a legacy for my kids, like, that they're proud of. You know what I'm saying? That they're able to look at and say, our dad worked hard. He was a man of integrity and principle and values, and that's what I hope for. That's my ultimate goal. Is if I get to the end of the road and I feel like I left the fire service a little bit better, I impacted some people along the way and made them better people, better firefighters. That's the goal on the professional side and on the personal side. I want to be able to have healthy kids that grow up that are contribute to society and are positive role models for their kids one day. You know, that's legacy, man, is when people pass down those values that you instilled in them beyond you when you're gone, when you're not there anymore. And that's what I hope for. But I mean, as far as professionally, I'd like to think at some point down the road that I make it back in the officer seat at some point. I really enjoyed that opportunity when I had it, you know, and I think it's probably one of the best positions on the fire ground to, you know, and in the firehouse to make an impact with new guys coming in as company officer. And then who knows, maybe I get old and my hips are bad and I can't get on and off the truck anymore. I'll have to eventually resign myself to a chief's job somewhere.
There you go. Yeah.
But that's a big down the road thing. So I don't know.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
see.
Oh,
I honestly, if I did a chief's job, I'd either have to be a line battalion or a training chief. I think I don't know if I don't know if I would want the top spot somewhere.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
it's not for me either.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, no, that's where I'm at, man. I just want to. I constantly look for ways to just incrementally 1% better every day, man.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Sweet. Well, yeah. Now we got one last question for you, and that actually we don't have it. You have it because you have to come up with it. So our next guest is Awesome Beer. He's from the Minnesota area. He's a great guy. Just transferred fire departments, I believe. But he was one that JD and I met. I don't remember if you were up there in the Minnesota training. But he has a great story. He's been a great firefighter. He has a very similar awakening type moment with his training that he was very passionate about and loved to share. And he'll be our next guest. So your question is going to be shared to him at the end of it, just like this one. So
sure. All right. Let me think here.
This is a hard
All right.
part.
Yeah.
This is a hard part.
Yeah, here we go. So what are your you guys got a pencil or something? Write this down.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Describing. Okay. So where do you want to be in the next 5 years in your career? And what are you doing to prepare yourself for that opportunity?
I like it. It's a good question.
I love that. Yeah.
Kind of a two-part question, but
yeah, no, I mean it's
works.
perfect, and it's a question really. Like we keep talking about that, everybody should be asking. You know, if you should be asking that yourself damn near every day, because that's the goal, is to get better. And you substitute career for family life. You know, where do you want to be in 5 years? What are you doing to prepare yourself for that? I mean, you shouldn't have an opportunity or something pop up that day and be like, oh my God, yeah, I guess I'll do this. You know, I wasn't ready for it. I didn't, you know.
Yeah, maybe the better way to put the question would be like, you know, what is your vision for yourself in 5 years? And you know, I think the big part of it is like the follow-up is so important though, because you have to have a plan in place in your mind of like, how am I going to achieve what I want to achieve, right? And that's
absolutely,
I think that's something that I think all of us need to ask ourselves, you know, every day is like, hey, you know, am I still on track for, you know, if you don't write it down, if you don't have a plan, then you're just kind of just shooting in the dark, right? Shotgun approach, and not the most effective and efficient way to do life. So exactly.
Awesome.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm sure Awesome will have a great answer. He's a pretty cool dude. We gotten to know him a little bit. And he's real excited to come out, real excited to have him. So it'll be fun. So yeah, that does it for the questions we have. The last part is just, you know, what we call our kitchen table, which is just anything you want to add, any shout outs, any things you want to expand on, any trainings coming up. Your episode will be coming out pretty quick here next week, basically next week from tomorrow. So the Fools training will be over, but you know, anything local or abroad that you got?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few opportunities coming up October down in Missouri again at the Ozarks, beginning of November. After the baby's born, I got to make a quick trip out to Ohio and then down to Florida, St. Augustine for Ancient City. That'll be it for the year, though. As far as that goes, a lot of stuff on the horizon in 2025. It's booking up pretty fast.
Yeah.
But I would add this. You know, I don't really want to dwell on so much on me per se, but there's a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe with Old Fashioned Fools. I think next year we really got a good foundation getting laid underneath us here going into 2025, finally getting our footing, so to speak. So for anybody in the Fox Valley area, I would recommend, you know, be on the lookout and get involved. And I'll say this on a side note, like Rabbit Trail. Oh, what we got going on there? That sounded aggressive.
Oh, yeah, fire tones.
Choptown?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, he'll peel out of this in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah. Brennan's gone.
Accident. No, it's entirely fucking stupid.
So, no, I would say this, man. Like, for anybody listening to the show, man, just understand that anytime you step out of the comfort zone, right, and challenge the status quo, you're putting a massive target on your back. You got to expect it. Understand you're going to have haters. You're going to have detractors. You're going to have people that downright can make your life suck sometimes. And so when I was talking about like grinding it out day in and day out and showing up, understand you're not going to be showing up with roses and butterflies and everybody telling you how great you are. Realize that when you step out and say, hey, I want to train more, I want to be into the job, I want to, you know, attend outside trainings, read articles, take classes. When you start doing that, the bottom line is you're going to have a lot of people question, why would you do that? You know, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Or, you know, oh, you're just doing that because you want to look good for so-and-so or whatever. You think you're somebody or, you know, I mean, I could give you a 10-minute dialogue on just the stuff that I've been told and heard over the years.
Yeah.
Please understand that it's still worth it. It's still worth it. You know, stand tall. Don't make the mistake that a lot of us make. It's easy to get like caught up in arguing back and forth with people and like trying to defend yourself of why, you know, your motives are, you know, pure or positive, whatever. The bottom line is like the haters are always going to be there when you step out and do that stuff. The best thing you could do is just keep smiling, keep showing up. And, you know, there's obviously people you're going to have to just probably say, hey, we're going to agree to disagree. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to say, hey, you know what? You're taking valuable energy and sanity out of my life, and I'm going to put my effort where it's needed most, right? And that's I think that's hard for people, right? When you start getting attacked for doing the right thing, it can wear you down. And so, like, I would just encourage anybody listening is find your tribe, find people that feel the same way about the job as you do, that are going through similar experiences as you, and build each other up, man. Because you know, it's that whole saying, you know, great people or great minds, right, talk about ideas, right? Small minds talk about people, right? That's the truth. If you're sitting at the table with people that are talking trash all the time, find a different table. And I promise you, it'll make it all worth it. When you find people that are doing things for the right reason, that love the job, that love each other, man, like hang on to those people. And they may not be in your department, right? You may only have a couple of guys in your department that feel that way. You know, don't let the haters win, because that's what they want, right? They want to tear you down. It's the crabs in the bucket, man. Pull you back down. And so that's all I got. You know, I just think that kind of stuck in my head when I was talking about that. I was like, you know what? People hear that and it sounds good. And it's like rah rah until you hit a brick wall. And it's it's hard to show up when you're facing adversity. So
yeah. And you gotta be on your game every day at times when it seems, you know, if you got that target in your back, that means you got to walk your walk, you know, and not that you can't have, like you said, a bad day. It just can't be 2-3 because you show up and, you know, maybe you got a new kid at home. You didn't sleep all night. The guys don't care about that. They still got that target in the back. They see you go right to the recliner. Like, you know, look at this guy. He's always talking about us being armchair warriors. And now he's right in there. Like, you know, one day it's fine, but just know that it's going to, you got eyes on you. As soon as you put that target, they're always going to be watching you, waiting for you to fail. So, not that you can't fail, but you got to get right back up.
Yeah. If you fall down, own it and keep moving.
Own it. Yeah. Own it's a huge thing. But yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on. Like you said, we're very, very honored to have you come on here, and that you came up to Wisconsin, started sharing knowledge, and we got to hang out and meet you and keep growing more. So appreciate you taking the time on this beautiful Monday to share some more knowledge with us.
Yeah, man. I'm honored to be on the show. Thanks for having me, and look forward to seeing you guys here hopefully in the near future. I think Saturday.
Yep. I'll see you Saturday. Brendan's working.
I'm working.
So he's shitbag. He won't be there.
Yeah.
So.
I know. I don't want to work either, but show up.
Someone's got to.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Pleasure having you on.
Make sure you guys check out Rust Belt Jake's. Give them some love too, and give you your little plug on ours there. So, but yeah, thanks for coming on. Thank you everybody for listening to another episode, and as always, don't be a shitbag.
Be a shitbag.